Hollywood, you need to get past the narco narrative so you can celebrate our joy.
Come on, yo. Come on, yo. Come on, yo. The slant.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Power, let's go.
Paulie back here on the Latino Slant. Make sure you are subscribed, comment on this video, share it, smash it, like it, rub it down. Whoa, no! Woo! Are you pumped? Are you hyped? Because you want Hollywood to share your joy? You should be. Can't you tell I'm joyous right now? Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Okay, what is Polly talking about in this video? I'm going to let you know. There's an article that has come out by Remescla saying Hollywood, stop with the narco negatives, the toxic masculinity, the violence, the drugs, the stereotypes, and instead opt for joy. Opt for non-trauma stories of Latinos. So, what we're going to do is we're going to read some reactions to this article from some friends of ours. We're going to read the article. I'm going to give you some facts. I'm going to give you my opinion, and I want to hear from you guys. That's what we're going to do. So, this caught my attention from our good buddy Kenneth Castillo, filmmaker. He's got 7 independent films, and he has been on the show quite a few times. And let me tell you right now, the Remesca, whoever from y'all's group that wants to come on and talk about this, you are always welcome here on the Latino Slant. Absolutely, 100%. So I saw this a few days ago. Kenneth posts, he's retweeting Remescla, and they're saying if Hollywood wants to push our narratives forward, they have to get past the narco stereotype and write about our joy. Read more, and there's a story, and there is a link. Kenneth goes on to say, "You guys at Remescla miss the mark on this topic every single time. Shows get canceled for a lack of audience or get renewed because they have an audience. It's that simple." And then he put his link to his op-ed that he wrote this past January 2022 in defense of the urban genre. Actually, that one was that particular story is from 2020, fall of 2020. And then he wrote a new one on the authenticity of a storytelling. And we have that video as well. I'll put all these links in the chat. Now, I think it's interesting, Kenneth, always a straight shooter, and that is where he's coming from. Here are a couple of quotes and retweets I found interesting. Brandon Lore Maxwell from the Daily Chella. Remescla is a cliche and stereotypical as they come. Big Brown Dad, who's a buddy of ours, focusing on cancellation when assessing Hollywood's support of Latinx projects is like looking through the binoculars backwards. Institutional studio support should be seen as initial signals. Those are clearest to interpret. Shows don't get canceled because they're good or bad. Then he goes on to say they get canceled for a myriad of business decisions. Ratings are just potentially one. Then Miguel Castillo chimes in, and he's talking right to Kenneth, but it's not that simple. There is an audience, but it's not cultivated the same way others are. Chicano urban dramas have been at this for a while. Hollywood knows that audience and how to engage them. They can do the same with Latinx shows that are more lighthearted. Kenneth, I disagree. On all these points, brother, there always seems to be an excuse for why an audience just didn't show up for a show. Sling it, brother, sling it. Marketing, budget, etc. It's not enough for Hollywood to know our audience. The creators need to know who their audience is. And then Miguel says, rather than discrediting creators on not knowing their audience, does the audience know that these creators or shows exist? And that's where marketing, algorithms, and all that stuff comes into. Because I find it hard to believe that we as Latinos are only into urban dramas. And then finally, Kenneth says, it's not about discrediting creators at all. But if we aren't honest in our storytelling, the audience won't show up. I'm merely stating that the urban drama is popular among our own, but even they have to be honest. Either way, it's a good conversation to have. Indeed. And like I said, there will be a link to Kenneth's 2 articles. But let's get to the juiciness of it all, to the Remezcla story. But before we do that, what do you guys think so far? Mm. I will tell you my initial thoughts is that action, shoot 'em up, action films, whether they're drug related or just, spy mystery involved related, are always going to be the bigger hits than lighthearted dramas. They're always going to attract a wider net. So maybe it is the genre that you should be paying attention to and not necessarily these agendas, because you can put agendas in any genre and still bog it down in too much messaging. Okay, so let's now go to, and that's just initial thoughts. I got more stuff for y'all. I hope you guys are having an enjoyable experience. And yes, this is a thing. This is a thing where you see the clear line of Latinos go that are, vying for this narrative, and Latinos that are just embarrassed and hate the drug cartel, the stereotypical narratives that are a hit. And that's really the biggest, the 2 biggest groups that's going on. And yes, they all happen to be, these 2 groups are Latino, and that's what's just amazing culturally, because you know the ones that are embarrassed about it really are missing the mark, because they're thinking that only Latinos are watching this, and that is a mistake. But enough teasing. Let's get to this story by Remezcla. And of course, to get eyeballs, they have the great um, image of Pablo Escobar, played by Wagner Mauro, who did a sensational job. Hollywood needs to get past the Narcos narrative and celebrate our joy. Okay, by Josie Melendez. Television shows that, let me start again. Television shows with Latines, that's the new opt word for the week, I believe. Can't keep up, but that's all right. Yeah, this is cool. This is cool. Television shows with Latines at the forefront have always had to fear the uncertainty that comes with renewal anxiety. From Diary of a Future President to Gentefied, many streaming platforms and network television alike have been dropping the axe on shows beloved by many in the community. Okay. Code here. Hollywood needs, let me change some words. Hollywood needs to get past men shooting up each other, violent behavior, and toxic masculinity. Instead, they need to celebrate our joy. That's what the real vibe is here. Okay? Well, not all of them are being sent to the chopping block. Shows like Narcos and Queen of the South are granted consistent renewals. Those 2 examples are consistent mega hits. And point of contention too, Narcos has finished their show run. They're not going to continue. Both focus on the nature of drug trafficking, especially within Mexico and Colombia. While there are people from the Latin community that are indeed fond of these shows, it's disappointed to see how those that benefit from crime and stereotypes are the only shows that persist consistently. We don't have to put a hand over the dark and gritty realities that stem from a culture, but it becomes a problem when that is the only thing Hollywood thinks we should see. Okay, well, that is incorrect. That is just straight up incorrect. Okay, that especially that last line. But let's go back. There are people from the Latin community that are indeed fond of these shows. No, they are not fond. They are like rabid fans. And it goes beyond the Latino community. It's disappointing to see how those benefit from crime and stereotypes are the only shows that persist constantly. Um, yeah, this is entertainment. And what I can tell you with is whether it is Colombian, Mexican, Italian, Irish, gangs of the modern era, last century, the century before, or maybe the Vikings, maybe movies about the Romans, maybe I don't know, movie, Gladiator, um, Braveheart. Do you get what I'm saying here? That's what people want to see. Men and women, Latino, black, white, because it's not just Latinos making these hits. So, um, if that's not your brand of entertainment, with much due respect, that's just the way it is. That's just the way it is. Now, it becomes a problem when that is the only thing Hollywood thinks we wish to see. Well, now let's just talk about television and what if Hollywood thought that that's all we would see, that's all we want to see, that's all they would produce. And clearly, they don't just produce Narcos and um, Queen of the South. Okay. Now, you mentioned in this article the shows, and you're going to mention some more, right? Let me just save it. Let me just save it. Let me just save it. Okay. But excuse me. The only thing Hollywood thinks we wish to see, Hollywood doesn't really think or care. If it thinks it can make money, and if there's an audience, then you will get a green light. Whether it is these two shows that you gave an example, or other huge hits that you did not example. Whether they're canceled or not, they were hits. They had a run. Selena, One Day at a Time, Mr. Iglesias. Whether they got canceled or not, they had a run. And most shows run 2 seasons nowadays. Many projects have surfaced in the last decade with a focus on Latins and lighthearted narratives, proving that we are more than our trauma. Um, you you obviously don't know what drama is as far as entertainment. You have to have great conflict to have a compelling story, whether it's a comedy, well, in any genre, especially with the hero or heroine that we follow. I mean, it's all about trauma, whether it is a trauma of saving the world to a drug addicted problem, or immigration. You'll point out later on. So this is not an educational course in the traumas of the Latino people. This is entertainment. What makes the best entertaining story? And then you'll have an audience. And you still haven't defined what joy is. You're just saying lightheartedness, and that joy doesn't have trauma. So I'm 3 paragraphs in, and you haven't defined that. Excuse me. They were beloved by many with significantly positive ratings on review aggregators such as Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb. Okay, that's critics or people's ratings. That means very little if it's just not no one, if there's no audience. It doesn't matter. I wish it did sometimes with the shows that I like, right? including Vita, One Day at a Time, The Baker and the Beauty, Julie and the Phantoms, which featured an Afro Boricua actress in a leading role, rocking her natural hair for all to see, and the expanding universe of Ashley Garcia. And unfortunately, all of them were canceled. Most recently, even Promised Land, which just premiered, was pulled off by ABC to finish its season on Hulu after 4 low-rated airings. Yeah, it was. There's a separate video I have on that that's been up, and Promised Land is far from being canceled. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna put that to the side now. Vita had 2 seasons. One Day at a Time had, I believe, 4 seasons. Baker and the Beauty had 1 season, I believe. I don't know these other 2, but I can tell you from these examples, you have an eclectic range of Latino stories. Some worked for 4 seasons, some worked for 2, some didn't work at all. That's just the way it is. And you're saying that because an actor who rocks her natural hair should be a reason to have a TV show? What are you talking about? What so part of your agenda then is making sure that there is an let's say Afro Latino in the lead role rocking your hair. I want to go back to what you said about how Hollywood sees us, because you're absolutely wrong. Now, television, whether it's behind a little bit with Afro Latina actors, that's a different subject. I can think of a couple actors who are Afro Latina, Gina Torres, the lady from Gentefied, that are actively working. Now, as far as Hollywood as a whole on film, Leslie Grace in The Heights, Batgirl. She's fighting crime now. Right? Ariana DeBose, West Side Story. And then in an upcoming movie with Henry Cavill, it's a spy movie. So what are you talking about? You actually have Afro Latino women fighting crime. Superheroes. And now you have a young Mexican American actress, Xochitl Gomez, as America Chavez in the huge MCU movie coming out, Doctor Strange. Where is there no joy in that? I mean, those examples. Okay, take out Batman and take out Doctor Strange. I don't know why you would do that. Or let's just take out Morbius. The female lead is Puerto Rican. That's coming out. Right? Same actor is going to be starring in Star Wars Andor this year. But Hollywood only sees us as drug dealers. This is just going off of what we cover on the Latino Slant every day and a little bit of research. I don't know how you can back that statement up. It's just wrong. Okay. Now, the thing with Promised Land, I said, and I'm calling Remezcla out, Daily Chella out, Latin Heat. I'm calling all you guys out that you have to 100% put your money behind this TV show, which is a pretty good TV show, an all Latino cast, good writing, written by Latinos. What more do you want? It's still going to have 5 more episodes on Hulu, which is a streaming service. I'm going to be so excited to get the streaming numbers because I believe this is probably where it should have been in the beginning. So your Promised Land example really has nothing to do with the argument. If it was canceled after 4 episodes, then you got an argument. Then you can include it. Why included it here? Why? Because you have to find anything that fits your narrative. And your narrative is that dreaded narcos Hollywood doesn't get us. That's all they see. And that is not correct. It's simply not correct. Hentified specifically hit home. Here, let's change it up for a second, shall we? Right, yeah. Hentified specifically hit close to home for many as it stood to specifically combat the stereotypes and the trauma porn Hollywood tries to sell and promote as a genuine Latin byproduct. I told you how I feel about Hentified. That show had a huge identity problem. Some shows it was this, some shows it was that, didn't know what it wanted to be, try to cram everything into its narrative, and you can't do that. You can't do it. When it was best, it was just about these family members trying to get through a day together. Real problems. Good stuff. When it wasn't, it was trying to solve all the world's problems, all the Latino world's problems with just too much messaging with sometimes within one episode. Okay, where am I? Linda Yvette Chavez, the co-creator of the show, even went on to address this as an interview with Variety, expressing that their main goal was to avoid the exploitation of Latins suffering specifically when dealing with immigration. Okay. Linda Chavez. Linda Yvette Chavez is rocking Hollywood right now. And first of all, Miss Chavez, congratulations. And yes, your show here did get canceled after 2 seasons. It just didn't work. But you have an overall deal with 20th Century Television. You are producing let me see what did my notes say? Okay. You're working on you've worked on 2 films and you're directing a new feature film. And these 3 films that I'm talking about, guys, Remezcla, none of them have to do with drug cartels. What are you talking about? How are you not happy that this person, this woman, this Latina, this Chicana has a overall deal with 20th Century TV? You should be praising that to the hills, right? She wrote not My Mexican Daughter, America Ferrera's feature film. She wrote Flaming Hot, which we've talked about here, directed by Eva Longoria. And she's got a new movie called Fieras, I believe. Excuse me if I get that wrong, but congratulations. Again, what are you talking about with this narrative? There's joy all over the place, man, just with that one example. But you go back to this. You even point out one of Hentify's most significant subversion of expectations lies within the very first minute of the pilot. Eric Morales, Joseph Julian Soria, really good actor, by the way, rides into the scene and asks for a copy of the 5 love languages, playing off whatever assumption might have been of his character thanks to the Narcos generation. No. It's thanks to how it was filmed. I know exactly what you're talking about. On purpose, they filmed it as if he was maybe doing a movida negocio because he's got a backpack. He's looking shady. He's in Islos, right? So they're like, okay, we're going to take this stereotype and then we just flipped it real quick. Isn't that cute? Isn't that funny? It was clever. I don't know if it was as funny as it wanted to be, but they manipulated the filmmaker. And that was a nice little device. But it wasn't the Narcos generation. It's because there is a stereotypical connection that has long been going on, I'd say since the 50s, that in barrios and ghettos that people deal drugs. Shocker, right? They took a minute and did a little clever twist. I appreciate it. I thought it was fun. And then we moved on. Thanks to the Narcos generation. Come on. These cancellations and the continued hollow perspective on who we are cause further problems by then adding to the disproportional employment opportunities for Latins in the entertainment industry to make shows about our communities in the first place. Oh, brother, sister, written by Josephina or Josie. God bless you. Hollywood's continued perspective on who we are. Why are you leaving up to Hollywood to tell you who you are? Who we are is in the mirror, is in our loved ones, in our families, in the people that raised us, and the people that we're raising, in the languages we speak, the food we eat, the way we walk. That is who we are. And no book, building, institution, television show, film can ever tell you who you are. Now, they may get it wrong, but those wrongs tend to be righted over time. Disproportional opportunities, employment opportunities for Latins in the entertainment industry that make shows about our communities in the first place. It is that is a separate problem, and I do agree with you there, absolutely. But even now, Miss Yvette Chavez, along with other showrunners, creators, are paving a way. We have more than ever Latino showrunners, creators in television than ever before. So, is it still a problem? Absolutely. Has it gotten better? Absolutely. That leads us to a lack of true diversity, and there it is. Why did it take you so long to say true diversity? It sets Latins back in celebrating our joy in exchange for drug trafficking narratives that sell. All right. So we told you about Ms. Chavez's successes and these examples here. We also talked about, let me finish reading this article. Ultimately, shows that continue to feed stereotypes about Latin culture and its people are continuously given the benefit of the doubt and multiple seasons. Meanwhile, Latin creatives who paved the way for our stories to promote our communities with strong, capable, multifaceted are given the short end of the stick. They are not. They're not. And if the industry truly wants to push Latin narratives forward, they only have to commit to fully uplifting all stories we have to offer, including the ones who spark joy. So, okay, I got it. This is listen, Josie. I don't want to go after. I'm going to respect your opinion here, but this is an opinion piece. This is and the examples I can give counter examples of what everything that you're saying. Now, I want to give you a couple of more examples of what Hollywood is really doing. Excuse me. Right now that I know of, and I only did like just a very little research as far as just as time, and I found great examples. Now, the lady that created Diary of the Future President, that show that was canceled, that was mentioned in here, her name is Yana Pena. Okay, she has. Let me see where she has an overall deal with CBS, and she has 2 new television projects in the works. Lemus, the other co-creator of Gentefied, has 2 other projects in the works as well. One's called Hipster Death Rattle on the CW. And Netflix is producing with Sofia Vergara a new television series as well. So, I've given you 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 examples. 8 short examples. And all these shows, I want to say in description, none of them have to do with drug trafficking. None of them have to do with violence. You got your joy, you got your happiness, and whether you're going to talk about illegal immigration or um, gender identity, whatever it is you're going to talk about, we will see if that is a success. How did that happen? Let's go back to Solo. Now, I sent a message out to Matt Lopez and the creators of The Promised Land and its stars. And I said, if you want your show to be a success, it's on the precipice. You can actually gain an audience. Here's what you do. Do not push any agenda in the show. And you're appealing to a wider audience as far as representation. It's already there. We know that. Push storytelling. In these shows that these creators are creating, I know that they're trying to create the best shows, but if it's all gonna be about representation, I don't know if it's gonna find audiences. Example after example in this article, in other videos we've done, these shows ultimately don't reach a wider audience because they are bogged down in a narrow niche message. And that message, although very commendable and at times very right, it doesn't mean the success that you want. And this is show business at the end of the day. And at the end of the day, shoot them up, bang them up. Movies and television shows are gonna be that first wave of hits, that first, and the joy that you have didn't really define, but being lighthearted and not full of any trauma. It sounds like really bad television. Sounds like very boring storytelling. Now, you can get your things across if your storytelling is one for everybody. And in my response to Kenneth Castillo, when he had posted that up, and thank you guys, I want to know what you guys are all thinking. I said, what makes a successful show, regardless of topic, stereotypes, or agendas? Grand storytelling that captures everyone's imagination. My name is Paulie. Leave a comment. We'll see you on the next video. Good luck to all you creators out there in Hollywood and independently, wherever you're at. Keep your slant fuerte.
Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. Come on, y'all. It's Land.
Yeah, but isn't this the unplugged version? I don't know. I think it's the unplugged version. All right, Power, let's go.